week. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. We were cooking with gas yesterday, 3-0 in the NHL. Nice to pull out the brooms every now and then. 6 straight winners in the NHL. I'm going to try to extend that to 7 on today's program. The NBA is back, of course, so 3 prop bets in the NBA. Matching action tonight. Some college football action to look forward to on Sunday as well with my guest today, my coworker, my buddy. Let's bring him in. An actual Florida man, Kevin Rogers. Here he is. Look at him. Kevin, so we're all dying to know, who did you vote for last night? Everyone wants to know.
Maction, Joe. We voted for Maction. Is that a winner?
Maction
Anything?
is always a winner. Now, I tried to vote last night. Of course, I'm a Canadian citizen, and I was denied entry at the border, unfortunately, for reasons that I cannot get into. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Chasing That Paper is not a political program, bipartisan, as we like to say around here, Kevin. So enough politics talk for now, because we got a lot to get into here tonight. Maction, NBA, NHL, college football Saturday. So we're going to let Kevin hit leadoff, come back to me for NHL and NBA, back to him for college football Saturday. So Kevin, get us started. What are you looking at tonight for college football?
Joe, you have 3 games in college football, and we're only going to focus on one of them, and it's Kent State. They're taking on Bowling Green. The Golden Flashes are a short favorite on the road, and I do like the Golden Flashes here. And you look at this game, you say, all right, Kent State's 3-6, Bowling Green is 5-4. Why is Kent State favored? Sometimes, Joe, when you say, why is this the case, you go with the why. And when you look at what Kent State has done recently, they haven't covered a lot of numbers. They're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games. They're coming off a loss to Ball State last week. And in fact, they've lost 3 of their past 4 games. The only one coming against lowly Akron, who lost last night to Eastern Michigan to fall to 1-10 on the season. 1-9, 1-10, 1-something. They have a lot of losses. When you look at Bowling Green, they've won 3 straight. They're coming off a victory over Western Michigan last week, in which they didn't cover. But a lot of their big covers as underdogs, they got 6 in a win at Central Michigan, got 7 against Miami of Ohio, got 17 in a home win over Marshall, and now just getting this short a number. I'm going to back the Golden Flashes of Kent State here to win at Bowling Green, Joe.
All right, Kent State, baby. We'll come right back to Kevin for his favorite looks in Saturday's college football games. But for now, let's hop into the NBA, the Battle of New York. Going down tonight in Brooklyn, the Knicks in town, taking on the Nets. Now, I made the mistake of taking an over in the Nets game versus the Mavericks the other night. I learned my lesson. Took a good hard look in the mirror, dug into some numbers today, and hey, this Nets defense is turning it around. So what will I do today? I'm going to fade the Knicks offense. I'm going to take under the Knicks team total, sitting there at 110, minus 110. So we'll take the under on that number. So take a look at the Nets defense here lately, completely transforming without Nash and Kyrie. Take a look at their last 4 games, allowing just 96 points per game. That's the best in the NBA. They're first in opponent EFG percentage in that span, second in defensive rating, and first in points allowed in the paint. Take a look at the Knicks offense, probably average at best, and that's probably being generous. You know, bottom third in the NBA in free throw attempts and 3-point percentage. Plus their numbers take a hit on the road. Now, I know they're not traveling very far for this one, but outside of MSG, they're 25th in EFG shooting percentage, where they're averaging 88.2 fewer points per game. So give me Knicks under on their team total. Next up, let's go to Prop City. This might be the bargain of the night. Absolute beautiful number on Damian Lillard. His point total sitting there at 23.5 over at BetMGM. I absolutely love the over on this one. This is an incredibly soft number. Allow me to explain. So an injury kept him away from the team for a handful of games. He came back on Monday, and he only scored 19 points in that game versus the Heat. But here's the thing. He played 35 minutes which leads me to believe he's perfectly healthy. Just shot poorly in that game. Take a look at his numbers from the course of the season. He's averaging 29 points per game. This includes 2 separate 41-point games, so he can explode on any given night. Look for some easy ones on the inside and at the line. He's 9th in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. The Hornets are bottom 3rd in free throw attempts allowed and points allowed in the paint. Lillard to get to at least 24 tonight versus Charlotte. Next up, we go out to the West Coast, and we have an absolute scoring machine in Donovan Mitchell, and an absolute beautiful number for him. His point total sitting there at 26.5. Boom! I am all over the over versus Sacramento tonight. So check out what Mitchell is doing so far this season. Absolutely filling it up here. He's averaging 31.2 points per game, 30-plus points in 7 of 9 games so far this season. And this Sacramento shitheads, that's what I like to call them, their defense has been an absolute disaster. 28th in opponent EFG percentage, 25th in points allowed. They've already allowed 7 separate 30-point games to opposing players this season. So look for Mitchell to keep the scoring up and get to over 26.5. And next up, we're going to wrap things up with my NHL pick for the night. Bit of a light night in the NHL. Give me the Minnesota Wild in regulation. So they need a win, and it can't go to overtime. Coming in at -110 versus the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Trying to make it 7 straight winners for your boy here on the show, on the ice. So just an enormous gap defensively between these teams. Check out the last 10 games. 9th versus dead last in expected goals allowed. 7th versus dead last in high danger chances allowed. 13th versus dead last in shots allowed. All favoring, of course, the Minnesota Wild. The Ducks, by the way, near the bottom of the NHL in most key offensive categories. Just embarrassing, humiliating special teams for Anaheim this season. 2nd to last in both power play percentage and penalty kill percentage. They're 2nd to last in goal differential at -22. 8 separate losses by 2 or more goals so far this season. Anaheim is probably the worst team in the NHL. And, you know, the Wild need a bounce back here. I'm not sweating the back-to-back. They lost a close one last night to the Kings. 1-0. Just a great bounce-back spot for them versus Anaheim. Like I said, probably the worst team in the NHL. And the Wild have beaten them in 10 straight games. So beautiful numbers all around. Give me the Wild in regulation, -110. Okay, Kevin, let's jump ahead here to Saturday's college football action. You have 3 plays that you absolutely love. Tulane, UCF. What are you looking at in this one?
I'm going to look at a side in this one, Joe, and Tulane looks to stay undefeated in the AAC. I'm going to back the Tulane Green Wave here. They have been one of the big surprises in college football so far this season at 8-1. UCF's at 7-2. They're no small potatoes either, but big race in the American with Tulane at the top, UCF a game back, Cincinnati a game back. UCF just beat Cincinnati recently. Tulane goes to Cincinnati the final game, so a lot of wheels turning. But looking at this matchup, though, Joe, for the Tulane Green Wave, 8-1 against the spread this year, so they've covered in every single win. And also, recently, 14-point win over Tulsa, 10-point win over Memphis, USF, Tito's USF team, which stinks. They won by 14. They beat East Carolina by 15. So they're taking care of business in these games, which is really good. They had one slip-up against Southern Miss earlier this season. But flipping over to the Knights, and UCF beat Cincinnati and Memphis, 2 good opponents. I mean, Memphis, I know, is taking a step back this season, but still got a lot of offense. And UCF has had 2 clunkers this year, losing to Louisville at home, losing to East Carolina on the road. In the East Carolina game, they had 4 turnovers, and UCF has had some injury issues at the quarterback position. UCF the last 2 years, Joe, against Tulane, they were heavy favorites in both those games. Tulane covered, UCF won. Now all of a sudden it's flipped where Tulane is a short favorite. Tulane runs the ball very well. I think Tulane takes care of business here. Why get off the train? I'm going to back them. UCF first time as a dog this year. Doesn't matter. Let's lay the points with Tulane here against UCF.
Indeed. Okay, Kevin with a nice mention of producer Tito's name on the show. Tito loves being brought up on the show, by the way. He often tries to insert himself, so I'm sure I'll thank you for that. Kevin, okay, next up, we have an enormous total here. Washington, Oregon. You think we're going to see a lot of points in this game or what?
I believe so, Joe, and a couple reasons why. First, with the Oregon Ducks. Now, number one, you have a couple of transfer quarterbacks here that play well. Bo Nix from Auburn's at Oregon. Michael Penix Jr., who's in Indiana, is at Washington. And these teams want to just go up and down the field. And since Oregon got blasted by Georgia in the season opener, which, again, there's no shame in that. You see Georgia's number one team in the country. Oregon has put up 40 points in each of their last 9 games. They have been, actually, it's 8 games, to do the math right. 8 games in a row, they've scored 40 points or more. So Oregon is scoring a ton of points. Washington's actually coming off back-to-back unders the last 2 weeks, but also their defense has been a bit suspect at times. Last year was a low-scoring game, but also different quarterbacks. And, I think that, now with this high total, it tells you a lot. I think Oregon, Washington, I believe this one will go over the total coming up in Eugene on Saturday.
Eugene, baby. Okay, Kevin, next up we go down deep into the heart of Texas. The Battle of Texas. Texas. TCU. All of a sudden a top 4 team in the college football rankings. What are you looking at here?
TCU, Joe, is going to be a big public underdog in this game, and rightfully so, because they're undefeated. So why are they getting 7 points? You got to take the points with the team that's undefeated. No. We're going to hook them with the horns here. Ooh. And take Texas, laying the 7. Now, a couple things with this Longhorn team. Number one, that they have 3 losses, but they blew the Alabama game early in the season that they should have won. They were up 14 at Texas Tech. They were up 14 at Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State's taken a step back the last few weeks, got blown up by Kansas State and lost to Kansas, so it doesn't bear as well for Texas in the argument. But still, Texas has had control. They've had leads in the second half of their 3 losses. Also 4-1 against the spread at home so far this season. They beat TCU last year. Take what you want from that. But TCU, though, first time they're a road underdog this year. They were a home dog to Oklahoma and blew them out. And we see Oklahoma's maybe not as good as we thought. But at the same time, give TCU a lot of credit. I'm not taking away from them at all. But Texas, I believe they're the better team. It's going to be a tough atmosphere going to Austin. I think Texas takes care of business here against TCU and hands the Horned Frogs their first loss of the season.
Woo! Woo! Indeed. Kevin and I just absolutely ripping through the board. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, do me a favor. Hit that like button right beside it, or maybe right below it if you're on your phone. I think there's a subscribe button as well. Give that a little click. Help us out around here. So I think that was what, Kevin? 8 total picks from us in about 11 minutes. That might be a record here at Chasing That Paper. So if you're looking to tail any of those bets or fade them, the choice, quite simply, is yours as a responsible adult. I recommend placing your action over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Kick off your day of sports betting with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS. And your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. That's VIBONUS, all one word, no spaces. And your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 or older. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks.
Bang! Bang! It's good!
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And Kevin, now I know you've been on the show before. You've hosted in my spot, filling in for me a couple times there. But this is your first time as a guest, so I'm assuming this might be a career highlight for you. Is it fair to say that?
I mean, the chair's comfortable. It's nice. I feel like Ed McMahon. It's nice to sit next to you and gab with you. Instead of me driving, I get to ride in a little sidecar. So it definitely is a new experience, Joe. It does feel good. It does feel like a career highlight.
There we go. What a compliment from Kevin there. Thank you very much for that, Kevin. So let's do some gabbing here, Kevin. Lots of news here in college football. Updated college football playoff rankings came out last night, and obviously we did expect a shakeup after some wild results over the weekend. So we take a look at the rankings here. Of course, no surprise, Georgia on top there, followed by Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee, Oregon, LSU, USC. Then it gets a bit foreign there. You look at 9 and 10, Alabama and Clemson. Alabama maybe even too high with 2 losses there. So let me ask you here, Kevin. Had they asked you to say, okay, Kevin, you do your rankings, would 1, 2, 3, 4 all be the exact same as what they are if you were the one ranking these teams?
Right now, yes, only because, Joe, we still have 3 weeks left. Ohio State has to play Michigan. So one of those teams is going to lose. TCU, they get Texas, they get Baylor, I believe, coming up. They still would have the Big 12 championship. So TCU still has a lot of work to do if they want to get into the college football playoff. And I've always believed this, Joe, that if you take care of your business, you should be there. If TCU finishes 13-0, they go 12-0 the regular season, then win the Big 12 title game, you should play for the national championship. And Alabama should not play for the national championship if you have 2 losses. Don't give up 52 to Tennessee. Don't lose in overtime to LSU on the road. Alabama is extremely talented, but right now they deserve to be where they're at. Clemson, I think, was suspect all year, and then Notre Dame blew them out, so we could throw Clemson out, which is fine. But obviously, Ohio State and Michigan, they still got to play in Columbus Thanksgiving weekend. So winner of that game has a really good shot to get into the college football playoffs. They got to win the Big Ten title. And obviously, Georgia has put themselves in a nice position. But the only way the SEC gets 2 is if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championships. I think Georgia's done enough to still get in with 1 loss.
Okay, Kevin, so a bit of a different conversation here when we're talking about futures odds to win the national championship. You take a look at the odds board, and of course, Georgia, I think this is a fair number on them at minus 120 to win the whole damn thing for a second consecutive year. They are followed by Ohio State plus 250. Then we have a bit of a drop-off here. Michigan, 8-1. Tennessee, 14-1. What a difference a week makes. Oregon 25-1, LSU 40-1, USC 60. And then once again, maybe being disrespected, TCU there at 80-1. So 2 questions. Do you like that value, that number on Georgia, minus 120? And who would be a bit of a sleeper maybe to take a flyer on?
I don't have a problem with the Georgia number, Joe, just because they're the best team. They won the national championship last year. They're undefeated. They just dominated Tennessee. They should be there, but also I think Ohio State's worth a look at plus 2. I really do. That it's not a crazy number. Beat Michigan. Whoever you're going to play in the Big Ten title game, you'll beat most likely. And we saw that the case last year, that Michigan beat Ohio State the final game of the season in Ann Arbor. They destroyed Iowa in the Big Ten title game to get to the Final Four. And Ohio State would have done the same thing to Iowa. So Ohio State, I think, is a big revenge spot for them, not only against Michigan, but just to get to the college football playoff. When you mentioned the likes of Oregon, I talked about the Oregon play earlier against Washington. Since that Georgia game, that offense can't be stopped. And Oregon still has work to do. And they would have to win the Pac-12 title. And they would most likely, if they beat, let's say, USC, do they deserve to get in at 12-1 with the only loss to Georgia? I think they have a case. I don't know if they win the whole thing, but I think they have a case to get in. And TCU, again, you still got a lot of work to do. You really do. You got to finish undefeated just to get in. And I don't know if that's enough to win the national championship. But I do believe, though, that the value is just with the top 2 teams. They're the best teams. We saw the best 2 teams in last year with Alabama and Georgia. And they made it to the national championship. You could argue Ohio State could have been in that mix. But I think that right now, Alabama, or Georgia rather, and Ohio State, they're the top 2. I think you're wasting money by trying to take these flyers on 25, 60, 70-1. I don't think they have a shot.
Yeah, I agree. People often get that word value mixed up. They often think it means it's got to be some gigantic, huge underdog. Whereas, like I said, I see Georgia there at minus 120. I think that's a fair number on them because they're going to be much bigger than a minus 120 money line favorite in these games here when we get to the playoff, most likely. Okay, guys, if you love what we do here at Vegas Insider, you are going to want to check out the Vegas Insider app. We've got up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. We have all our latest shows, best bet videos, and podcasts, props, trends, features, news, all on the Vegas Insider app. Download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. Woo! And we do thank Kevin for honoring the Miami Dolphins with his shirt today. If you want to show people your shirt there, Kevin, also honoring Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Great movie, the great Jim Carrey there. So Kevin out here representing, honoring the host of this program, a very Dolphins-friendly show. Producer Tito is also a Dolphins lover. He hasn't been hurt by me as badly as, Tito's a bit younger than you and I. He grew up in the Miami Heat Big Three era, so that's all he knows for his sports there. But Dolphins, they need to pick up this W versus the Browns here, then go into their bye looking pretty good. Tua getting some love all of a sudden, Kevin. Foreign territory for me as a Dolphins fan. Usually this time of year, Kevin, I'm looking at mock drafts, seeing what free agents might be available. Now, I'm kind of hoping playoffs and pick up a win maybe. Be competitive in the playoffs. Be competitive in one playoff game. That'd be a win for the Miami Dolphins. All right, we are winding right down here, but not before we take a look at some viewer picks from the CTP crew. Quite a few submissions there today. We'll ask producer Tito to... this guy looks like a real asshole, Kevin. Either way, you don't judge people based on looks around here. This guy likes Desmond Bain over 21.5 points, minus 111. He's topped this in 5 of 7, where he's averaging 28 points per game, more than John Moran. He's shooting 54.4% from 3 in this span and faces the Spurs tonight, who are 25th in opponent 3-point percentage and 29th in points allowed. Yeah, I have to agree with this guy. Seems like a goof, but beautiful spot. Sure. Okay. What do we have next, Tito? All right, we have a regular here, Nathan Schreckengost, a fellow Penguins fan. And the Penguins, man, they are in rough shape. I just ordered a Penguins hat. And, of course, they're on like a 6-game losing streak. But Nathan thinks they break it tonight, minus 129. Pens are still 5th in expected goals, 4 and 4th in high danger chances for, while the Caps are 25th and 20th, respectively. That's 5 on 5. Pens are 6 and 3 in the last 9 matchups in Washington. And the analytics seem to indicate that the Pens are due for a strong rebound. I think it starts tonight. I hope it starts tonight. I couldn't pull the trigger, though, Nathan. Nathan Jarry, or Tristan Jarry, sorry. He's just been so goddamn awful in nets. But fingers crossed on the Penguins versus the Caps tonight. What do we have next? All right, Matty Puppy Sports. This guy's been giving us a couple winners here. He likes the under for the Pistons-Celtics game. None of the last 4 Pistons games even came close to that number. Detroit is 26 in offensive rating, just averaging 107.7 PPG. The total is cashed in 4 of the last 5 Pistons games. Hashtag chasing that paper. All right. What's next, Tito? Producer Tito, a little slow today. Sean Mitchelson weighing in once again. He likes the over in that TCU-Texas matchup, Kevin, 64.5. TCU offense ranks 2nd in yards per play and 4th in total yards. Texas 19th in yards per play and 30th in total yards, I think that is. Defenses are 86th and 74th, respectively. Both teams should play into the 30s. And maybe even the 40s. Another Big 12 shootout. So, Kevin, did you have a lean on the total, the over-under in that TCU-Texas game at all?
No. I mean, I think that it's not crazy to think these teams can put up points. Look at what TCU has done a couple times this year. I mean, they could score a ton. They did that in that Oklahoma game earlier this year. But, yes, this game can be in the, 38-30, 38-28 range, something like that, and be close. I don't love the total, so I'm not exactly going to tell you I like, one either over or under in that, but I do prefer Texas more than the total. But, yes, I can see the points. I don't think it's going to be a 17-10 game. But the problem with Texas is, too, what scares me is at times, like I told you earlier, is that they build these big leads and they let these teams back in. And obviously TCU has not lost a game yet. If they go into this hole, I can't it can't be crazy that they can come back. So we'll see what Texas can do. We'll see. Big game for Steve Sarkisian here.
Indeed, Kevin has spoken. There you have it. Thank you, everyone, for submitting picks. If you want your voice to be heard, add them to the comment section here on YouTube. Let us know what your best bets are for tonight. If you hit a winner, we'll shout you out on tomorrow's show. So hit up the comment section for that. Let us know who and what you like for this evening's sports action. A lot of it going on. College basketball, too. Okay, guys, it is now time for today's Handicapper Heat Check. Presented by, of course, VegasInsider.com, your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. And this guy does not look like a person you want to cross, but he is a great bettor. Today we recognize Paul Bovey, who can be found on Twitter at Paul Bovey. Paul dominated the books last night, 5-1. He has a 5-1 college football record, saved 33 on Paul's matching best bet by clicking on the link in the description below. The discount will be applied during checkout. That's your Handicapper Heat Check. Stay hot, bettors. Woo!
Broncos country, let's ride.
You ever hear they going to the well too often, Kevin? I don't know how often you watch the show, but Tito tends to overdo it with that Broncos sound effect, which has no place in today's program. Like, I'm probably going to have a pick on the Broncos game Sunday, so we could use that then, but he just kind of throws us in to amuse himself and annoy me a little bit.
All true, but I think when Russell Wilson wins some games, maybe it'll go away. He keeps losing, and he's like, oh, it's fine. Let's ride. Let's keep being positive. Dude, you've been terrible this year.
Absolutely. Great under team, though. So, Great under spot versus the Titans, too. Okay, Kevin, so a lot going on in the sports world, a lot going on here at Vegas Insider. You have a lot of content up on the YouTube page here already. So what can Chasing That Paper viewers look forward to from you?
Well, we have the college football videos. This is kind of a sample of what I have for my videos on our YouTube channel. The games I went over today. Also, Alabama and Ole Miss will be up a little bit later on as well. We have a pick on Knicks Nets for tonight. And we just continue with these college football best bets. So we'll have more of them next week as well. And we're getting towards the end of the season, almost getting towards the conference championships and the bowl games. So keep an eye out for those best bet videos on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider TV, Joe.
All right, there you have it. Also up on our YouTube channel right now, picks for UFC 281, a gigantic card going down at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night. Myself and Mark O'Madsen broke down the 3 top fights, so you're going to want to check that out. Guys, once again, if you're on YouTube, give us a like. Hit the sub button right down there as well. We wish you good luck with your bets tonight, unless, of course, you are fading us. We thank Kevin for joining us. As always, keep chasing that paper. Woo!